This week's book is a special book to cover because it's pertinent to this week, and mostly because I had never read it before, and it was specifically requested a few episodes back by Mike Berenstain himself, who thought I might enjoy it, who's interested in me covering more books of this kind, and it's going to be a particularly difficult book to cover because it's mostly visual. Also, it's pertinent because this is a time of year that certain people might find taxing. Huh? Yes, it's a joke. It's fun. You can laugh. You can laugh. It's funny. Go on. You can laugh. There we go. You can laugh. It's funny. That's right. It's funny. Keep laughing. Yes, a very funny joke. You can laugh. Oh, yes. It's very funny. It's very funny. No? Yes. It's very funny. Welcome back to Deep in Bear Country, a Berenstain Bearcast. I am your host, Phil Gonzales, and this week we are taking a look at a book of cartoons, drawings, visual gags, a little bit of punnery, some inappropriate humor, and some dated references that I don't even understand. That's right, this week we are covering the only one time published, the very specifically published 1952's very hyper-focused comedy book by Stanley and Janice Berenstain, tax-wise, a pictorial romp through the tax form. And by hyper-specific, I mean this book is seemingly specific to the 1951 tax forms. It was published in 52. It's about the 1951 tax forms. I couldn't find anything specific. Okay, it was published by Schumann, who had previously published one other book by Stanley and Janice. They had published Sister, a fun house of sister cartoons from Collier's with over 30 brand new cartoons drawn specially for the book. Sister was a one-panel cartoon or maybe a strip that had appeared in Collier's magazine. I have the book Sister somewhere there in my house, but we'll be covering it at another point. But Schumann published Sister, they published Tax-Wise, and then I can't find any other information about them. I don't actually know anything about Schumann publishers. If you know more about Schumann publishers, let me know. They don't have their own Wikipedia page, and I tried to find some history of them, but not surprisingly, there's actually several publishers who went by Schumann, and I couldn't tell if they were the same or related or what. So let me know in the comments if you know. I can't get my hair out of my face. My hair is falling just all over. Just if you're watching this on YouTube, please bear with me. My hair looks terrible. So tax-wise, so the 1951 tax forms, which I am staring at right now, because all you have to do is go to irs.gov, and you can pull up tax forms from any year, like any year. They just have them PDFs. Of those, I guess some people still haven't done their taxes from 1951. I'm looking at Form 1040, and shockingly enough, it looks like the tax forms from any time of year. It looks like any year's tax forms. They haven't changed at all. They look like, hold on, I'm going to see if I can, there we go. This is the 1951 tax form. It's literally what it looks like. It's a tax form. I was surprised. I thought maybe it would look a little antiquated, maybe a little weird. No, it makes total sense. Maybe the typeface is slightly different, but if you go to the irs.gov, you can go to irs.gov/irs-prior/f1040-1951.pdf. And it'll come right up, and you can pretend you live in 1952 and are doing your taxes, just like Stanley and Janice Berenstain did. So this is like the third book they published. They had done the Berenstains baby book in 1951, which was then reprinted in 1953. They did the Sister collection, which came out the same year as this. I don't know much about this book, if they were asked to make it or if they thought maybe it would be, just maybe they were like, it'll be fun to do like we're still trying to figure out who we are, like what we're doing. This is a period of their lives when they were doing a lot of pointing out life's little foibles was their sort of their bag. This was followed up by Marital Blitz, published by Dutton. They did a bunch of collections for Macmillan. Baby Makes Four, It's All in the Family, Loverboy. Then they went to Dell, Dutton. They remember the Berenstains don't ever seem to. I don't know if they were ever tied down to a particular publisher or if it was mostly like we have a contract with you, but we're not exclusive. I don't know if they were ever exclusive to any particular publisher. I'll have to ask Mike about that. But they published a lot of cartoon books before they ever published a Berenstain Bears book. And then once that happened, I'm looking at their list, and they continued publishing cartoon books and ephemera, other things, throughout the 60s and into the 70s. Publishing a few things in the 1980s as well that were non-Berenstain Bears related. So they always had these things in their back pocket, these adorable little books. I don't know how I'm going to do this, actually. So you're going to have to bear with me because this is a cartoon book, and it's not textually based. It's visual gags. So pretend I'm the president of the United States, but like a good president who you like, not a terrible president who's trying to destroy, I was going to say the country, but really the world. Pretend I'm a homie, down-to-earth president who has a fireside chat and reads the funny papers to children sometimes, I guess. I don't remember which president was that. Who did that? Or was that I know that like, what's his face? Fiorello LaGuardia did that. He was not president, but I know that Fiorello LaGuardia did like, I'm going to read you the funny papers. But didn't one of the presidents do, or I'm just confusing a fireside chat with who cares? Who absolutely cares? Pretend I'm the president of the United States and I'm reading you a Stan and Jan Berenstain book. Okay? I'm a good president. I try my hardest. So tax-wise, a pictorial romp through the tax form. This is a scan that Mike Berenstain himself had sent to me. So they did a good job scanning it, but there's a few pages. There's actually all the right-hand pages are a little harder to read than the left-hand pages because of the fold in the book on the scanner. Obviously, they didn't want to break the spine, so they had to scan them very carefully. I believe the original images for this, the proofs and such, I know the cover proofs and the cover images are all in the archives at the Strong Museum of Play. So if you sign up to access their archives and go to the Strong Museum, you can see the original illustrations for this book there. But other than that, I'm just going to sort of walk us through this book. It's tax time, y'all. Have you done your taxes? I did my taxes. My taxes don't take any time. I was going to make my usual joke that my taxes are easy because I don't own anything. I don't have any money, or I don't have any assets. It's not true. Alana always gets on to me about that because it's not true. It's just that everything's in her name because she's a better human being than I am with better credit and better everything. So everything's under her name. So I do actually have a lot in my life, but the biggest thing I have is my beautiful family, and you can't put a tax on that. Maybe you could. Maybe you could put a tax. I believe in the past they've put a tax. I mean, I guess they do put a tax on family. Or deductions. They put deductions on family members. So it's like the opposite of a tax. It's like that's why families are good, because you can deduct them. All right, I can't because I can't claim anyone because Alana does, because that's just the way our taxes work. I don't know. Is that illegal? That's still legal now, right? In 2025, it's legal for two unmarried people to live together. Is that still a thing? Are we allowed to do that? Has that been outlawed yet? Anyway, tax-wise, pictorial romp through the tax form. Harry Schumann, New York, 1952. Stanley and Janice Berenstain. So right off the bat, we've got a lot of weirdness and sexism, some gender stuff going on. So what the way the book is structured is they take an actual quote from the tax form or the tax instructions, and then they illustrate that quote with a hilarious image. So like, for instance, the first cartoon in the book says legally adopted children with 1951 gross incomes of less than $600 who received more than one half of their support from you in 1951. See instructions. And the illustration for this, for someone with no income who received more than one half of their support, is a man, a little hefty. He's got a mustache and he's pushing a pram, a baby carriage. But sticking out of the baby carriage, you would think it'd be a rattle or some sort of teddy bear, but it's not. It's a sexy woman leg. and she's holding a cigarette holder that has smoke coming from it. And the man is kind of looking over his shoulder like, does anyone see me? Because it's a sugar baby, I guess is what you call them. Like the woman who like has a sugar daddy, and that's a candy though. Is that what you call them? A sugar mama? I don't know what's the PC term for a woman? A gold digger? I don't know. That's the joke though. I think is that she's like a kept woman, so she gets more than half of her support from him, but he treats her like a baby and a baby. That's the joke. That's what we're starting with. Is a hilarious joke about the infantilization of women who depend on men for their income, but they're not really wives. I don't think it's supposed to be a wife. She's a legally adopted child of some sort. The next joke is even weirder. I don't really understand. Okay, so Stan and Jan Berenstain were amazing people, and they had a wild, wicked, weird sense of humor that very much reflects the era in which they come from. There's a lot of gender comedy. There's a lot of sex comedy. There's a lot of women and men with their cigars and their pipes, and children with their cowboy hats and their six-shooters. There's a lot of that kind of humor. It's the 1950s. What are you going to do? Again, strange to me in the sense that Stanley and Janice Berenstain had a very unusual marriage that most Americans didn't have, and that they were artists and co-partners, like equal income partners in this family, creative types who created an empire. Most married couples didn't have that at the time. So it almost seems like their image of Americana, of the American family, is as informed by popular culture as everyone, like, as more so than anyone else's, because they're almost like play acting the role of a typical American couple. I mean, I've seen interviews with them, I've heard interviews with them, I've read their books. They are very loving, down to earth couple. I mean, talk to Mike about them. Very wonderful people. Creative types, artists, met in art school, but they didn't have a typical American family. But they wrote about typical American families, so it's almost as if their experience is filtered through the perception of the outsider. I don't know. In any case, the next joke is, please attach all W-2 forms here. And it's a naked man and a woman standing there. I assume it's supposed to be Stan and Jan. I guess it kind of looks like them. I don't know. I've never seen them naked. I promise everyone. I'm not that big of a fan. I don't even know where this is going. But the drawing is of them nude, but their private areas are covered with W-2 forms. I don't know what the joke means. It's funny in a weird way, and that's kind of what this book is. It's either jokes about how women are gold diggers, or it's funny in a weird, surreal way. So this man and this woman have covered their private areas with W-2 forms. Not well, like not much. Like they're barely covered. Sort of an Adam and Eve thing going on, I guess. That's it. Like, please attach your W-2 forms here. I guess maybe they did this once as like a funny couple thing. I don't know. Mike, if you're listening to this one, is this something your parents actually did? Is this like the dinosaurs toys where they just took a real life event and threw it up on the page? Why did Mama and Papa Bear never do this? Would have been a funny ending to a book, probably a funny ending to the series itself, because we wouldn't have seen any more Berenstain Bears books published by mainstream publishers after this. That's it. That's all I'm going to say about that. So we have things like it's like a gag that just says tax table, and it's a guy sitting at a table drinking a bowl of poison, I guess, and the table is covered in tax forms. Like, that's it. Tax table. Like, the tablecloth is made of tax forms. Or this table allows for charitable contributions. And the illustration is a man looking through binoculars at a horse race. Like, you see the horses, and he's wearing a horseshoe bow tie. It's like the charitable contributions. His charitable contributions are to the track. Do you get it? Do you get where the humor in this goes and comes from? Taxes are hard. And most of us are tax cheats, or wife cheats, I guess, and women be shopping, I guess is the joke here, or just weird things happen sometimes. So there's been a series of gags, which is for Schedule H. It's weird. These are all very tax form specific. So Schedule H, explanation of deduction for depreciation. And they illustrate the depreciation of an object of property using a woman's dress. So you see the first image says, 1, kind of property, state the material of which it's constructed. She's wearing a nice dress, but the dress it seems to be made out of bricks. I think it's made out of bricks. The next illustration is the cost or other basis. And you see she's thrown over the dress a beautiful fur coat. She has a diamond ring. She's holding a clutch. She has a beautiful fancy hat on. You can still tell that the dress is on underneath the coat, though. They're showing you the bricks underneath the coat. Dress made out of bricks, fur coat over it, dress made out of bricks, under fur coat. She's added some expensive bangles onto this. 3, depreciation allowed or allowable in prior years. And so it's the woman in the dress again, and then some of the bricks are missing from her dress. And then the 4th illustration, I hope I'm selling this, says depreciation allowable this year, and it's a brick. It's just a picture of a brick. And I think that's the end of the gag. So I think the joke is that your dress is made of bricks. I'm not very good at comedy. I'm not a funny guy. I don't find anything amusing, I guess, because I don't understand this joke. So her dress is the bricks are the dress. The bones are their money. The dress is made of bricks. It depreciates by bricks falling out of the dress. And then this year, 1 brick. That's the joke. I guess. I don't know. Y'all, this is like a terrible book to try to do audio-wise. But even video-wise, if you're seeing it, what is the joke? Please tell me. I'm very bad at this. I am dense. I don't understand humor. I don't understand comedy. Nothing strikes me as funny, ever. No one has ever heard me laugh. That's the weird thing. They think they hear me laugh, but I'm going to let you know a little secret. That's how I cry. And if you think you've seen me cry, it's just how I sweat. So the next comic is the signature of the person other than the taxpayer preparing this return. And it's just a guy doing the taxes, and Satan is on his shoulder. The devil is riding him. He's like a goat man. He's got a hand over the guy's eyes, and he's guiding the guy's hand to sign it. I guess that means that, like, the devil does your taxes, Satan does your taxes, a goat man is preparing their return. When you do your taxes, you're actually doing Satan's bidding, I think is the joke. Again, not good at this. The next illustration, do you owe any prior year federal tax? It's a giant coach's whistle. Okay, let me explain this to you. It's a giant coach's whistle. I know it's giant. You'll find out how I know it's giant. Coach's whistle, like a silver whistle on a chain. It's giant. It fills the page. And then in the little square where the ball would be for the whistle is a little man. And he's poking his head out, and he's kind of looking to the side. Like, do they see me or something? Do you owe any prior year federal tax? Giant whistle, man poking head out. I think it's like someone's blowing the whistle on him. Like he does owe prior year federal tax. He's looking around. It's weird. I don't understand it. Is this what the New Yorker is like? I think this is what the New Yorker is like. Because I don't understand all these jokes. So then, like, describe your deduction. So here's describe your deduction again. We get that cat again who was pushing the pram. Describe your deductions. He's just making like a shape with his hands. It's a dotted line shape, but it's a woman's body. That's the deductions. He's deducting the woman that I guess we saw him pushing around. The sugar mama, the mama, the gold digger woman. I guess he looks like he's in a fit of ecstasy also. He's envisioning this woman's body. He only comes up to her chest, like his eyes. Maybe he's just thinking about her chest. I don't know. It's a little dirty. It's a little risque. But the next gag is even more risque. It says, your wife's name, do not list if exemption is claimed on another return. And the joke is that a guy is using a stepladder. He's standing outside a door with a do not disturb sign on the knob, and he's climbing a stepladder, and he's looking into the little window above the door, and he's like, nyah, 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 nyah. And his feet are like doing a little, like, he's like standing on his tiptoes, and he's shaking his hands, and his eyes are bugging out of his head. I guess the joke is that his wife is cheating on him. I think that's the joke. Is his wife the woman who's the sugar mama, the mama baby? The baby mama? The sugar daddy mama? Is that her? I don't know. Are these jokes connected? Is the book connected? I don't understand. But his wife's, I think, cheating on... Or maybe there's a dead body in there. I don't know. The gag doesn't explain itself. It does mention the wife in the instruction. Your wife's name, do not list if exemption is claimed on another return. So maybe the guy is... Maybe she's cheating on him with the guy who's claiming her on his taxes? Are you allowed to do that? Or maybe in 1951. Maybe in 1951. So, profit or loss from a partnership. I get this one. So, a man and a woman have been on a seesaw on the beach, as you are, as you do. You're on the beach with your girlfriend or your wife. You see a seesaw. You're like, let's seesaw, sweetie. We could be laying out or going into the water, but not today. We're going to go on the seesaw. So the two on the seesaw. Maybe there's that musical Seesaw. Were seesaws far more popular with adults back then? Is that what I'm hearing? Were seesaws a thing that like grown-ups did and then like sort of they became a child thing like Stephen Foster music, like fairy tales and stuff? Like these were intended for all people, but then they sort of just became children's things. Is that what I'm seeing here? So in any case, they were on a seesaw, but he's jumped off. She's crashed to the ground. He's jumped off and he's combing his hair a la the Fonz because a beautiful woman has walked by in a very small bikini. And maybe the woman who was wearing the nice dress earlier, because she's wearing a similar hat. I don't think that's important. Profit or loss from partnership. The loss, I guess, is that he's going after another woman in front of his wife. I guess. Men, you can't do it. What can you do? What can you do? Then we have split income benefits, which is just a bunch of women's jewels, but also the aspirin for the guy, because what women do be spending his money. So then there's a section called How to Figure Out the Tax. And this is a guy... He's looking through the wrong end of a telescope, and he's imagining, or there's like a dotted line Napoleon hat on his head. Now, for those of you who aren't in the know, Napoleon hats used to indicate insanity, because there used to be this thing where if you were insane, you thought you were Napoleon. I'm not looking up the history of that. Somebody else in the comments, look it up for me and explain the history of the Napoleon gag. You would see a person with a Napoleon hat with their hand in the thing like Napoleon. You thought you were Napoleon. That's how we knew people were crazy back then. If they thought they were Napoleon, they were crazy. If they didn't, they were just being stubborn. But he's looking to the wrong... I guess he's nuts. Figuring out a tax, that'll drive you nuts. Like Napoleon, I guess is the joke. I guess that's the joke they're making. Nothing will drive you crazy like doing the taxes. So, the penalties of perjury... are people, just drawings of people being tortured in various ways. I mean, there's a guy who's been locked in his face has been locked in the stocks, I guess. His tongue is sticking. Doesn't make any sense. But it's a disgusting, hilarious drawing, I guess. Another is a guy doing his taxes with his head through a guillotine. But he's leaning forward doing his taxes. Pretty nice drawing. If I was ever going to get a tattoo, that's what it would be. A guy doing his taxes. His head is in the guillotine. His foot is on the pedal of the trash can. I guess he'll open the trash can, trigger the guillotine, cut off his head, it'll fall in the trash can. It's a lot of detail for a gag, which is just you'll be executed if you perjure yourself. There's an overpayment and refund. The overpayment is a guy stuffing himself into a mailbox. His shoes are old and worn. I guess he's broke and he has to he's accidentally paid too much to the gov. The refund, though, is a guy who's gone into the mailman. Oh, I get it. So the mailman is walking out of an apartment complex, and there's a woman or women standing in the doorway holding an envelope, presumably the refund, and the postman is covered in kisses. So she was so happy to see the refund that she covered it because it doesn't matter. She's just gonna spend it all on jewels and furs, as women do. She's just going to spend it all on jewels and furs. What's great about this book, though, is you can't buy this book. I mean, you can, but it's like $150. It's not a cheap book. This book was published once, and then that's it. Mike was telling me something about this book being published but never distributed. I don't understand like what the difference between that is. So I'm not sure like what the actual history behind this book was, but this is it. And you can find it for sale. It's listed, but it's expensive because again, it's weird. Reimbursed expenses. It's just a guy laying on a mattress, but the mattress is an expense account book. I guess he got it reimbursement, so he's comfortable. And then dental expenses is a guy. Okay, it's a giant glass of water connected to a wall, presumably in a glass holder, like where you would put your false teeth. In the glass of water are the false teeth. Tied to the false teeth by a rope around the neck is a man drowning in his dental expenses. I guess, again, it doesn't make any sense to me, but it's an amazing illustration. You don't see Stan and Jan Berenstain drawing many people being garroted to death. Maybe Raffish Ralph. So the drawing is, again, if I ever go to get, this is the tattoo I would get. I should cover myself in obscure Stan and Jan Berenstain illustrations and be like the illustrated man, but just of obscure Stan and Jan Berenstain illustrations. A few Mike illustrations too. I throw in a few from his like wizarding books. Then we got some medical expenses. This is like, okay, this is a buck wild 2-page spread. Medical expenses. First of all, part of the jokes are cut off because of the curvature of the page. So I don't actually know medical expenses. So one is a doctor walking on stilts, but the stilts are actually the bodies of two of his patients, or maybe it's Stan and Jan. I can't tell. He's walking on using their bodies as stilts, and he's looking at his watch. So I guess, or he's taking the pulse of Stan. I don't know. I guess it just means that your doctor uses you to walk as a stilt man. There's a doctor on the back of a horse, but it's a unicorn. But the horn from the unicorn is coming out of the unicorn's nose. I don't get it. He's on a unicorn of sorts, or a narwhal unicorn, but he's holding a jousting pole. But the jousting pole is a thermometer. I don't know what that means. There's a man who's been crushed in a bed, like a hospital bed is folded up on him, and he's holding a bill that says bill. I guess that means that like the treatment is worse than the cure. There's a guy with a thermometer in his mouth, and the doctor presumably is holding a lighter up to it like it's a cigarette. I don't know. I know it's the doctor because this lighter says RX on it. Like that's the prescription, but he's holding it to the far end of the thermometer, which wouldn't affect the thermometer because the metal part's the part that detects temperature, and that's in the guy's mouth. So I don't know what's happening here. And then the weirdest one is it's a changing screen. Like you would find in a doctor's office, I guess, back in the day. It's a changing screen. Behind the changing screen, you see a pair of pumps. Over the changing screen is a bra, I guess a girdle or a slip. But then it kind of gets cut off. I don't know. Is she paying for her medical attention with sex? I don't know. But that's a 2-page spread. Don't understand it. There's a before and after payroll deductions. One's a full roll of toilet paper. One's an empty. I just want to point out that the roll of toilet paper is attached the correct way, with the roll going over the front, facing you, not against the wall like psychopaths do. We see the number of exemptions is 8 or more. There's a guy whose face is a slot machine, and instead of cherries, it's babies, I think. And then he's vomiting coins. So I guess, but the coin into a hat, but then the coins are falling out of the hat because there's a hole in the hat. I don't understand this metaphor. I think it means that like there's 9 exemptions. So he's getting exemptions, but then the money gets filtered away because he's got 9 kids anyway. Like, so you're not really saving any money. I don't know. It's a gross image. I would totally get it as a giant back tattoo. Then you see a house of cards. And it says explanation of deduction. And I think that I get this. I think this means it's like a very unstable looking house of cards. I think it means that like your explanations for your deductions are going to blow away. Like they're barely holding it together. They're not going to hold together very well. Like the IRS will find a way to knock over your house of cards. Either that or somehow Kevin Spacey's involved. I don't know. There's a lot of weird sex stuff in this book, so probably Kevin Spacey's involved. Okay, then we got a section here that's like a multi-panel comic that's about a man and a bird, and it's under Schedule F, income from rents. So you get the kind and the location of your property. So you have the man, he's looking up at a birdhouse. There's a cute little bird poking its head out of the birdhouse. That's your kind and your location of property. Birdhouse in your yard. Then the amount of the rent. And you see a guy walking away with a coin, and the bird is chirping at him angrily. And then I don't know what this word is because the image is too blurred. But the man his hat has been pooped on by the bird. And he's angrily shaking his fist at it. Repairs, he's chopping down the birdhouse, and then other expenses, he's getting his hat cleaned at a hat cleaner's, and he's angry. That's it. That's the joke. So he's like a landlord who doesn't take care of his property, but then when he gets challenged in court by the renter, he just blows up the building, I guess, and then he gets his hat cleaned. Is the joke. It's like Rent or something. Maybe it's tax related. I'm not sure. Again, I'm terrible at this. Here's my favorite illustration. And if I ever got a chest tattoo, like I would shave my whole chest and get an image tattooed, but the tattoo would also extend beyond my shoulders and onto my arms, it would be this. So read down the shaded columns below until you find a line covering the total income you entered on item 4, page 1. Then read across to the column headed by the number corresponding to the number of exemptions claimed in item 1, page 1. Enter the text you find there in item 5A, page 1. A very complicated set of instructions. If you listened along at home, the illustration is a man pulling his eyes out in different directions. So he's pulling his right eye out to the right and his left eye out to the left. They're still attached to his body by the optic nerves. It's a very graphic picture. He's yanking his eyes out. He's stretching them on the optic nerves. I guess the gag is that he's trying to like figure out these instructions, and it's making him like look in every direction at once. You can't look in all those directions at once. I would get his tattoo, but I would have the eyes extending down my arms. It's a disgusting picture. It's the most violent, vicious, disgusting, grotesque thing I've ever seen the Berenstains illustrate. I love it. I absolutely love it to death. Why didn't Papa Bear ever do this in any of the books? Why didn't he ever pull out his eyes? Or better yet, why did no one else pull out his eyes? That would have been interesting. Fun end to one of the books. Maybe the Bear Detectives had to figure out what happened to Papa's eyes. And then they find out and they discover it's because where we're going, we won't need eyes to see. And then the next one is depreciation or depletion. And it's a guy in an hourglass. And the bottom half of him is in the bottom half of the hourglass. And the top half's in the top half. And his body is filtering through the hourglass like sand. Figure it out yourself. Figure it out yourself. We have an elephant that's been killed by a poacher who's being ridden by a game warden and is angrily looking at the poacher. The elephant has no hunting written on its side, but it's been murdered by the hunter. Enter your total wages, salaries, bonuses, commissions, and other compensation received before payroll deductions. I have no idea what this means. I think Stan and Jan just wanted to draw a dead elephant. They just wanted to draw a dead elephant. They were thinking about Topsy. We have a man trying to climb up a slide. It says if your income was less than $5,000. And then a man greasing the slide. It says if your income was $5,000 or more. I guess he gets to the top and then he greases the slide. So what it is I think the joke is while you're a low earner, you've got to struggle to get to the top. Once you make it to the top, you then make sure that nobody else can follow you up. I think that's the joke, and it's pretty good. It's a pretty good visual gag. It's not funny. It's terrible. And it reminds me of my economics teacher who taught us that it didn't matter how many people you hurt as long as you succeeded. That was his lesson in economics class. As long as you personally are successful, you are allowed to hurt as many people as you can step on your way to the top. That is what business is. That's the nature of capitalism. And he said this not in a critical way. And when I argued about it in class, I was like, that's terrible. He's like, money doesn't care. Why should you care about other people? The goal is to make money. He was our economics teacher. I don't know if he was a very good economics teacher because he was an high school economics teacher. I don't know how good he actually was at making money. Why was he a high school economics teacher? Dummy. So then it says, if more space is needed, I just spit all over my mic. If more space is needed, which is an instruction on like you would write an additional space to figure things out on your tax form. It's a guy painting tax numbers all over his house. It's pretty funny. It's a house and he's standing on a scaffold and he's painting calculations all over his house because more space is needed. There's a lot of math to do. Back in the day. Now the computers do it for you. You just trust that they're doing it right. Net operating loss. It's a woman being shot out of a cannon. All right. There's no net. So they didn't go for the obvious net gag for net operating loss. But the net operating loss, she's being shot out of a cannon. She does have a string tied to her, attaching her to the cannon. Don't know if that's important. Or maybe it's just how cannons work. I don't know. I do know it's a pretty cool cannon. I know it's a pretty coolly drawn cannon. I know it's a pretty cool cannon. She's at a circus, too. This one's disgusting. It's gross income and net income. So gross income is represented by a bull about to charge a matador. Net income is the bull is dead and being dragged off the field. The matador's sword is bent, his clothes are torn, he has a black eye and is missing teeth, but he's holding up the bull's severed ears and grinning. I get this one. So your gross income is how much you earn. Your net income is how much you actually take home at the end of everything. At the end of all your like everything that gets taken out of your paycheck. The idea is that he goes through all this trouble, but most of the bull gets dragged off and he gets to keep 2 severed ears. You get it? It's like taxes that way. It's disgusting. It's Stan and Jan have drawn a man holding animal parts while the animal's corpse is removed from the scene. It's pretty graphic now that I think about it. But that's taxes. It's tax time, baby. There's no room for romanticism here. We got total losses, which is a man whose wife has left him for another man. It's the guy with the mustache again, I think. His hotsy-totsy wife is sitting next to him. He's holding her hat and he's holding her purse, but she is sitting with another man and making out with him. And the guy who is her husband looks not happy about it. That's his losses, not compensated by insurance or otherwise. He lost his wife, I guess, to the man. I guess that's what happened. I guess that's like taxes, I guess. The next one is corporation declaring the dividend is just a big fat guy and he's poking another hole in his belt because the corporations, baby, they just get bigger and bigger while we suffer. I'm not making fun of this, but it's true. It's a bit of a hack point, but only because it's 2025. Back in 1951, 1952, it's pretty bold to say this kind of thing out loud. 75 years ago. 75 years ago, yeah, you didn't talk about corporations. They'll come and get you. I mean, they will now too. Your exemptions are a man who's pretending to be a seesaw with his head being slammed into the ground by his child. A man who's turned his body into a car a la Turbo Teen. He's also bloody and has a black eye and his teeth have been busted out and his bones are all broken. He's been hammered into the shape of a car being driven by his wife, his money-grubbing, penny-spending wife with her jewels in her hairs and her clothes, and he's tooting out gas from his head. He's the car. And then a family on a roller coaster going down a roller coaster, and everyone's having a good time except for the husband, who's hiding his eyes in his tie. I don't know what this means. It just means your exemptions are your kids and your wife, I guess. I don't know. Is that your exemptions? Your kids will break your face. Your wife will turn you into a car, and you sometimes go to an amusement park, I guess is the joke. Is your wife making a separate return? It's a guy, he's at a carnival, and he's throwing balls at a sideshow game, but the game is a woman on a mattress and he hit it, and the mattress is like throwing the woman who's only wearing underwear and like sexy lingerie. And his wife is coming up behind him with a purse, about to hit him over the head. I guess that's the joke. I don't know. It's a lot of these jokes are just like people are cheating on their spouses. I don't understand what the gag is. Is your wife making a separate return? Is the wife making the separate return the woman in lingerie, or is it the woman hitting the husband? Is she returning from somewhere and finding her husband is playing midway games where he throws balls at women? I don't know. I don't get comedy. I don't understand humor at all. Allowable contribution. I do know this one. So it's a bunch of women standing in line holding up charity cans that say that fund on it with like slots to accept money. And a guy is crawling on the ground under them. He's avoided making any contributions, but then there's a woman at the very end holding a giant mallet that looks like one of the cans that says United Fund, and she's about to clobber him over the head, which means you try to avoid, I guess it's like you try to avoid making contributions, but the United Fund will get you in the end. Or is it like you thought those were allowable contributions, but then you get knocked out by the United Fund? That's the allowable contribution? I'd actually know. Pretty good comic, though. I would get it tattooed, but I get it tattooed as a lower back tattoo. I'd get this one on my lower back, so only like my intimate friends could see it. My friends who go to the gym with me, I guess. I don't know who my intimate friends are. Traveling expenses. It's just a guy at a train station bar. He's drunk. Those are your traveling expenses because the train is late. Exchange of capital assets. It's a woman getting jewels. She's just getting jewels because that's what women be doing. And how much have you paid on your income tax? And it's a guy who's twisted himself in knots and he's broke. He can't pay anything. He can't pay anything. He's got no money because his wife keeps buying jewels. Your standard deduction is a guy cutting the end off a salami. Your itemized deduction is a guy cutting the salami up into lunch meat. But he looks evil when he's doing it. So standard deduction is the guy just cutting the end of, and he looks happy, the end of the salami off. But then when he slices the salami into deli meats, he's mad, or he's like mischievous. He's like, ha, that's your itemizations. Is it bad to itemize? I don't understand. Is he the guy doing the taxes, or is he the government? Is he the government? But then the itemized deductions are like, they'll save you more money, right? So is he the guy? I don't know. Is he the taxes? What's happening here? Is it bad to have the butcher slice your salami into deli meats? Is this a phallic thing? Is that supposed to be like your manhood? I'm not sure. Is it like masculine to do your standard deduction? Because that's just like getting circumcised, but then your itemized deductions are like feeding your manhood into a deli slicer? I don't know. Is that the joke? Am I missing this? Am I overshooting? Am I overreading it? Am I misinterpreting this? I don't know. Listeners, viewers, is that what itemization is like? I've never itemized my taxes. Is it like having your body part pushed through a deli slicer? And are you smiling when you do it? Use your standard deduction to itemize deductions, whichever you is to your advantage. It's just a guy in the dark, because nobody knows. And then finally, I declare under the penalties of perjury that this return, including any accompanying schedules and statements, has been examined by me and to the best of my knowledge and belief is a true, correct, and complete return. It's a guy, he's walking down a long and twisting hallway. He's in the back rooms. He's carrying his tax returns or his tax forms. He's got a very worried grin on his face. And then there's a sign, a hand pointing to the tax collector. But the fingers in it are crossed. Like, good luck, buddy, because you're going to turn it in and it's going to be wrong. So, but he's not perjuring himself. He swore to that. So I think that's the joke. He's like, oh, God, please let everything be correct or else I've perjured myself. And then I think it's you get your head cut off from one of the previous jokes. You go into the guillotine. Oh, God, there's more cartoons. So exemptions for close relatives. We see Uncle Sam sitting atop the Washington Monument. That's the name of your dependent relative. We see a man crossing his fingers, and the fingers are himself and Uncle Sam. That's your relationship. And did your dependent during 1951 have gross income of $600 or more? Uncle Sam is sitting on top of the Washington Monument, and there's a mountain of cash under him. So I get it. The thing is, your dependent relative is your Uncle Sam. Like, your Uncle Sam depends on you for their money. Like, they act like they're in charge, but you're the one paying them. So that's your closest relative, is your Uncle Sam, who gets most of your money, right? Your closest relative, your relationship is that you can't do anything without it. And that he sits on the Washington Monument with all of your cash. Everyone's cash. He makes more than $600 a year. He makes more than $600 a year because he's Uncle Sam. And he looks pretty pleased with himself. So you're paid in full. It's a woman slamming her husband's head into a what are those, test your strength games? And I bring this up only for one reason. It is that down by the base of the test your strength game, is the man running the game. And he's holding what look to be toy cats. He's got toy cats sitting on a table. The cats kind of look like they're smoking pipes, which may be the case. It might be a toy cat is I'm just going to look that up. Toy cat smoking pipe. Is that a thing? Pipe smoking cat. I don't see it. I see pipes that are shaped like cats. I see someone's obviously AI generated image that they're selling on eBay of a cat smoking a pipe. I see a Felix the cat with a pipe in its mouth, okay, there's some antique cats that are like pipe smoking, but these are like giveaways at a carnival. Pipe smoking cats. What I think it might be, and I could be wrong, what I believe I'm looking at here, though, is an early form of the cats that stick out their tongues when you squeeze them. Remember in the Berenstain Bears and Too Much Stuff, Too Much Things, the ones that get the greedies or gimmies, and they want the cats, you squeeze them and the tongues got. Is that what this is? Is that what I'm looking at here? I'm going to actually try to get a closer look at this. So, because I think that's it. I think we reached the end of the book. So I'm going to try to see if I can see this a little bit better. No, those are definitely pipes. Those are pipes. Why do cats smoke pipes? I don't know. Seems bad for the cat. But you're paid in full, bubby. You're paid in full, sucker. You got your cats. Your wife is slamming her head into the thing. All's well, it ends well, I guess, my boy. And then that's the end of the book. The back of the book is just a couple of the gags from the book. So that is Tax-Wise, a pictorial romp through the tax form. And I assume that when you bought this, you read it and you were like, how true. How true it is. Wives are wasting our money. Men have women on the side. There's no kids in this book because it's an adult book. And the best part of the book, I think the best illustration in the book, my favorite, is the cover, which is a man. There's an actual picture of the 1040. And it's a man who's been pinned to the 1040 by 6 knives going into his sleeves and his jacket and his pant legs, or at least 5 knives, and then one's just stuck in the form. And over his heart is a heart with a $sign in the middle. And he looks sad and tired and worried. And I think it's actually a pretty cool picture. Going to get this one tattooed right on my cheek. Right on my cheek. Going to get just the tax form in the guy, not the title or anything. So that when people look at me, they go, that's a guy who understands what it's like to take a pictorial romp through the 1951 tax form. This book was originally $1. So if you lived in 1952, you could have taken your hard-earned dollar, which was like the equivalent of like $800 in 2025 money. It was like a year's wage. Take it to I don't know where you bought this, the local gas station, the supermarket. Where'd you buy books back in 1952? The mom and pop store, the 5 and dime, the candy fountain, the soda fountain, Walgreens, wine gardens. I don't know any. What are these stores called? I don't know. Where'd you go? You go to pick up a bicarb and a bromo seltzer, and on the way out, you're like, what's this? Tax-Wise, a pictorial romp through the tax form. I'll take this home and show it to my wife. And if assuming she's not out buying new shoes or a fancy new dress, and that I'm not seeing my mistress or that my wife isn't cheating on me with the rogue down the street, we'll have a hearty chuckle as I prepare my 5th highball, and she wears her pearls while vacuuming up the rug, and my son toots his horn and rides me like a pony, wearing his Davy skin coon skin cap and his Stetson and shooting his 6-shooters, while my daughter dresses in an apron and plays with her easy bake oven and dreams of a boy that she'll one day marry who reminds her of her dear old dad. I think that's what people talk like in the 1950s. I've only seen Back to the Future a million times. I should know by now. But that's Tax-Wise, a pictorial romp to the tax form. I want to thank Mike Berenstain and Mads Torres for getting this scan to me so that I could cover this in time for tax week. It's a whole lot of fun. It's a whole lot of funk. I would not recommend you go out and buy it because it will break the bank. But if you find a copy of it somehow, again, I don't know how available this book ever was. You can pick it up. I mean, pick it up if you find it. I don't know if I'd spend $120 on it unless you're a completist. If you're a completist, you better get this. This would be, and put it in pride of place. And bring it out during tax time. Treat it like one of Shakespeare's folios. Like, make your friends like put on like masks and wear like gloves before they handle the pages with like plastic tweezers or whatever, because it's a rare book and it's fun. I mean, it's fun. I know I was goofing on it a lot. It's so much fun to see Stan and Jan's non-Berenstain Bears illustrations. They're a delight. They're a hoot and a handshake, and I'm just thrilled as thrilled can be that Mike thought of me and wanted me to take a look at this and cover it for tax time. So get your taxes in. I hope you got your taxes in. I hope you're getting your taxes in. Don't skip out on those taxes, my friends. Thank you for joining me. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being a big part of this. We'll be back next week with another Berenstain Bears book. Maybe a newer one. Maybe a classic one. Should I cover the bike lesson? Should I tell you the story once again about how I don't know how to ride a bicycle? Should I learn how to ride a bike for the benefit of my viewers? Would that be an interesting episode? Should I record myself learning how to ride a bike and then upload it to YouTube as a 48 going on 49-year-old man? Would that be interesting to you? What if I fell off the bike and hurt myself? Would that be funny to you? Would you laugh at that? Thank you so much for being a part of this big, bold, weird, wild experiment, and I'll see you all next time, deep in Bear Country.